3 minutes after beating England at a World Cup semifinal, Argentina's players grabbed a banner off the stands. They laid it on the pitch. They posed around it. They laughed. They waved. The banner read, "The Falklands are Argentine." And the country whose king sits on the throne that those islands belong to erupted in a fury that football has never seen before. King Charles III's Britain, his prime minister, his parliament, his government ministers, his Falkland Islands, all of them speaking with one voice, all of them demanding the same thing: ban Argentina's players. Now, before the final. Not after, now. And then Donald Trump stepped in. And everything exploded. Welcome back to Robert's Football Talk. I am your host, and if you are new here, subscribe right now, because today we are breaking down the most politically charged story in football history. The banner that provoked a king's entire nation. The prime minister who publicly demanded action. The parliament that called for bans. The Falkland Islands government that wrote directly to FIFA. And the American president who sided with Argentina against Britain. Football has never seen anything like this, and it is all happening right now. Subscribe now. Let us go. Part 1. The banner. The moment Britain stopped breathing. Let me take you to Atlanta Stadium on the night of July 15th. England had just been eliminated. 2-1. Stoppage time heartbreak. England players in tears. England fans in the stands devastated. And then Lo Celso moved to the advertising boards, where Argentina fans were gathered. He reached over. Someone handed him the banner. He took it, walked back to his teammates, and within seconds, Lisandro Martinez, Cristian Romero, Nicolas Otamendi, all holding it up together. Las Malvinas son Argentinas. The Falklands are Argentine, laid flat on the turf of the stadium. Players posing around it, grinning, celebrating a political territorial claim about British sovereign territory 3 minutes after beating England at a World Cup. Now let me tell you what those islands mean to Britain, because without that context, this is just a flag at a football match. The Falkland Islands are a British overseas territory. They have been since 1833. In 1982, Argentina invaded them. A 74-day war followed. 255 British soldiers died defending those islands. 649 Argentine soldiers died. 3 Falkland Islands civilians died. Real people. Real deaths, real families who still carry that grief 44 years later. And Argentina's players used that war, those deaths, those families, as a backdrop for a victory celebration photo after a football match. 3 minutes after beating England, on the same pitch, in front of the same cameras. Now I want to ask you something. If Argentina had beaten Brazil or France or any other nation and held up that banner, it would have been controversial. But they held it up after beating England, the nation whose soldiers died defending those islands, on the pitch in Atlanta, in front of England's players who were still there. How do you feel about that? Drop your honest answer in the comments right now. Subscribe to Robert's Football Talk right now. Because the British response to this banner is the most extraordinary thing a football story has ever triggered from a government. Part 2. King Charles's country speaks. Every voice. Every level. Here is what happened in the hours after that banner was displayed, and I want you to understand the scale of what Britain did. Because this was not just social media anger, this was an entire nation's institutions speaking. Prime Minister Keir Starmer, the leader of the British government, endorsed calls for a FIFA investigation. He said, "The World Cup might not be ours, but the Falkland Islands definitely are. Our position is unchanged. Self-determination rests with the islanders, and our commitment to the Falklands will never waver." The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Speaking about a football banner. Using the language of national sovereignty, Business Secretary Peter Kyle, a senior government minister, called it an egregious violation. His exact word, egregious. He said action this day from FIFA was required. Whether it is fines or suspensions, he said this cannot wait until the end of the tournament. Cannot wait. He wanted Argentina banned from the final before it happened. Shadow Business Secretary Andrew Griffith, the opposition. Not the government, but the opposition. Normally in politics, the opposition argues with the government about everything. Not this time. Griffith stood up and said, "Why shouldn't FIFA ban the RG players from the final?" shirts and suspended Spanish players for chanting Gibraltar is Spanish about another British overseas territory. Both sides of parliament, government and opposition, saying the same thing: ban them. The Falkland Islands government, the actual government of the islands themselves, the people who live there, who were invaded in 1982, wrote a formal letter to FIFA. Their statement said the banner was particularly insensitive for many people in the Falklands. Particularly insensitive from the people whose home was used as a political prop in a football celebration, the British military veterans community, former soldiers who served in the Falklands War, speaking publicly about what the banner meant to them, about their fallen colleagues, about the families of the 255 who never came home. One nation, from the Prime Minister to the Parliament, to the opposition, to the island government, to the veterans, all speaking, all demanding, all furious. This is what happens when you disrespect King Charles's Britain. Now let me ask you something. Argentina's players knew exactly what that banner meant. They are professional footballers briefed by their federation before every match. They knew FIFA's rules on political messaging. They knew the history. They did it anyway. Does that make what they did worse? Tell me in the comments. Part 3. The Trump twist. The moment America sided with Argentina against Britain. Here is where this story stops being just a football story and becomes something that belongs on the front page of every newspaper in the world. Britain demanded Argentina be punished. The Prime Minister spoke. Parliament spoke. The Falkland Islands government wrote to FIFA. And then the White House spoke. Sky News sports correspondent Rob Harris reported that the White House backs the Argentina players' right to protest about the Falklands at World Cup matches and rejects calls led by the UK government to punish them. Donald Trump's World Cup liaison Andrew Giuliani said it's about First Amendment rights on freedom of expression. First Amendment rights about a banner at a World Cup in America, where the tournament was hosted, the British government demanding punishment, the American government defending the Argentine players. At the same tournament, at the same time, two allies, two NATO members, on opposite sides of a football banner controversy. And here is the connection that ties everything together. FIFA is being pulled in two directions simultaneously. The British government is pulling one way. The American government under Donald Trump, who has already personally intervened in this tournament to overturn a red card for an American player, is pulling the other way. And FIFA's president Gianni Infantino is photographed smiling at the trophy ceremony with Donald Trump. Not with Keir Starmer, not with any British official, with Trump. Britain demanded action. America defended Argentina. And Infantino was photographed with America's president. Now I want to ask you the most important question in this entire video. When FIFA finally investigates the Falklands banner and decides the punishment, which government's position do you think they will follow? Britain's demand for serious consequences, or America's defense of Argentina's right to protest? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to see what this community thinks. Part 4. The precedent that makes Argentina's defense impossible. Here is the detail that FIFA cannot ignore, no matter what political pressure comes from any direction. Article 34.3 of FIFA's 2026 World Cup rules explicitly prohibits players from displaying any political messages or slogans before, during, or after a match. Not before and during. After as well. The banner was displayed after the match. Still prohibited. And here is the precedent that destroys every argument Argentina's defenders are making about freedom of expression and First Amendment rights. In 2024, just 2 years ago, two Spanish players, Rodri and Alvaro Morata, were banned for one match each after celebrating Spain's Euro 2024 victory by chanting Gibraltar is Spanish. Gibraltar is also a British overseas territory. Same situation. Spanish players making a sovereignty claim about British territory. FIFA banned them. Rodri, the same Rodri who won the World Cup final with Spain, was banned by FIFA 2 years ago for chanting Gibraltar is Spanish after winning the Euros. And Argentina's players held up a banner making the same type of claim about the Falklands after beating England at a World Cup. The banner that actually says the words in writing. On a banner, displayed for cameras, Lo Celso held a banner. Martinez posed with it. Romero celebrated with it. Otamendi was there. If the Rodri precedent is applied consistently, multiple Argentina players face match bans, not fines. Bans from future World Cup matches. Britain has been saying that from the moment the banner was displayed, action this day, cannot wait until the end of the tournament. FIFA waited until after the final and included the banner in the broader list of violations being investigated, the same list that includes the brawl. The same list that Infantino is being forced to process because 6 walls of institutional pressure closed in on him simultaneously. Subscribe to Robert's Football Talk right now and share this video, because the final part of this breakdown is the question that King Charles's entire nation is waiting for the answer to. Part 5. What happens now? The ban that Britain is demanding. Let me tell you where this investigation stands and what Britain is fighting for. FIFA has confirmed that Argentina faces a charge of exploiting a sporting occasion for non-sporting demonstrations. That is the formal legal language for the banner charge. It is in the official proceedings alongside the assault charges against Paredes, Molina, Almada, and Ayala. The potential punishment based on the Rodri precedent is match bans for World Cup matches. Not just fines, bans. From future World Cup competition. Lo Celso, who took the banner from the fans. Martinez, who held it up. Romero, who was beside it. Otamendi, who celebrated with it. All of them potentially facing bans from the 2030 World Cup if FIFA applies the same standard they applied to Rodri and Morata. Britain wants that standard applied. Parliament demanded it. The Prime Minister endorsed the investigation. The Falkland Islands government wrote their letter. The veterans community has spoken. The entirety of King Charles's Britain has spoken in one voice. And they are watching FIFA. Watching what Gianni Infantino, who was photographed with Donald Trump at the award ceremony, decides to do. Watching whether the organization that fined Argentina 30,000 Swiss francs for the same banner and said First Amendment rights. Britain said egregious violation. FIFA has to choose. And the entire football world is watching which way they go. Because here is the truth about what the Falklands banner actually was. It was not passion. It was not emotion in the heat of the moment. It was planned. The banner was brought into the stadium by fans, specifically to hand to the players after they beat England. Lo Celso walked directly to the spot where it was being held. There was no hesitation, no looking around to find it. He walked straight to it. That is planning. That is organization. That is a deliberate political statement made on the biggest football stage on earth against the team that lost soldiers defending those islands in a real war 44 years ago. Britain is asking FIFA to treat it accordingly, with the seriousness the Rodri precedent established, with bans. Not just fines, bans. The answer is coming, and when it comes, it will tell every football fan in the world whether the rules of this sport apply equally to everyone, or whether some teams operate under different rules depending on who their powerful friends are. That is the full breakdown. The banner. King Charles's entire nation responding. The Prime Minister, Parliament, the Falkland Islands government, the veterans, and then Trump defending Argentina while Infantino stands photographed with him at the ceremony. The precedent that demands bans, not fines. And the question FIFA must now answer. 3 questions for the comments. Drop all 3 right now. First, should Lo Celso, Martinez, Romero, and Otamendi be banned from the 2030 World Cup for holding that banner? Apply the Rodri precedent. Second, Trump's White House defended Argentina's right to protest. Does the American government have any business defending a political statement about British sovereign territory at a World Cup? Third, if FIFA hands down only a fine and no bans for the banner, does that prove that the rules of football do not apply equally to all teams? Drop everything below. I read every single one. And Britain is watching. This has been Robert's Football Talk. Hit that like button, share this with every football fan you know, and especially every England fan who watched that banner go up on that pitch. Subscribe if you are not already here. New videos every single week. I will see you in the next one.